Hi, this is PR Frank, and today we're going to make a card that we can print onto letter-sized paper, cut, and then fold into fourths. Here we have a template, which hopefully you've already opened. And the first thing you should do is save it according to the instructions. After you've saved it, we're going to go to Window, Workspace, and I'm just going to reset Essentials because that way you can have the same workspace that I do. So reset Essentials. Now I've got a workspace that should look like yours if you've done that. So the first tool I'm going to use here. So I want you to notice there's a couple of things that are already in this template. I have the template layer, which you can turn on and off with this visibility icon. That lets me see where I should put my content. And I have crop marks, which will be left on when we print it so that we can see where to cut it. So the first tool we're going to start with is the shape tool. Down here it looks like a rectangle. I click and hold, and there are many shape tools. If we go to the custom shape tool, we have this drop down here that has lots of different shapes. Yours probably says leaves, wild animals, boats, and flowers. I have an extra one called legacy shapes and more. You're probably going to want that one. And here's how to get to it. We go to Window, we go to Shapes, and if we click on the sandwich menu here, you can click Legacy, Shapes, and More. And once you click that, then you'll see this folder, which I can open. Scroll down, and you see there are 2019 shapes, and there's all legacy shapes. These are really a great collection of shapes that Photoshop left out in this version. So you just need to go to the Shapes layer and make sure you choose Legacy, Shapes, and More. What we can do in the Shapes menu is we can search for things. So I can type in heart, and it's going to show us all the heart shapes that are included in the shapes. And I like this heart. I'm just going to click and drag it onto my design. And as you can see, it's way too big, so I can scale it down just by dragging the corner. And I want to try to make sure that this is on the front of my document, maybe a little bit bigger. I can also go outside the edges, outside the boundary of my shape, and you get a little curvy tool, which you can then rotate the shape. So I'm going to put that right up against the edge of my boundaries where it will be folded. At the top, after I'm done transforming it, I can accept my transform up here with a check mark. So now it's kind of boring. It would be really nice to fill this with some color. Over here in the Properties panel, you can see my appearance. I have Fill and Stroke. Right now it has a blue stroke, which is the outline, so I click that, and I can choose the None button. And then I can click my Fill, and I have several different kinds of fills that I can use here, okay? So I'm going to start with just this thing. It's called the swatches. And I can go through the different colors we have. I like pure. I'll just click on a pure red color, and it fills it with red. All right, let's drag this shape too. I'm going to take this shape, drag it onto my design. I'm going to resize that a little bit. If I hold down Shift, I can squish it a little bit. I like it a little bit squished. And I can rotate it, and I can put it wherever I want. How about we over here, kind of overlapping the other one, maybe a little higher, and accept my transform up there. And let's go back into Stroke, No Stroke, Fill, and let's try a gradient this time. There are plenty of gradient choices here. I tend to like this iridescent set because it's like really nice gradients. Let's do this purple to blue. If I just click it, it'll fill that shape with that gradient. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. I think I'd like to bring this shape above the other shape. And here's how. Over here in my layers, you see I have Heart Frame 1, which is this. I have Heart Card 1, which is this. Now, if you're not seeing the boundaries of that box, you're going to have to go up to your options bar and click Show Transform Controls. By default, it's off, so you're going to turn that on. All right, so what I want to do is I want to take the heart frame that's at the bottom and drag it above the other layers. So any layers that are on top are going to cover up the layers that are on the bottom. So that's why the crop marks are showing up on top. And now the hearts are looking pretty good. Now I want to use some text. So here I have my type tool. I click it, and I click once, and of course I'm just going to type happy. I like to keep my words on different layers so I can move them around, accept my change, click one more time somewhere else, Valentine's, accept my change, day. Okay, maybe an exclamation point or two. All right, so that's the last font I used. If I want a different font, I can select my text layers by drawing around them, but then sometimes when you draw, you see I accidentally grab the background. So I can undo with Command Z. So it's better to go ahead and click the layer and hold down Command for every layer that you want to click. Now I have all 3 of those layers selected. And look, now in my Properties panel, I have my character. Right now it's set to Architect's Daughter, but I can go through here and choose something else that I like. Let's see how black crayon looks. That's pretty fun. All right, you may not have that font on your computer, but I kind of like how it looks like a crayon. I got to go ahead and try to fit that in there. Looks like Valentine's just fits in there. I'll move Happy over a little bit. And I'll move Day over to this side. So I'm just trying to make sure the letters are fitting well inside of one another. Actually, maybe the P in Happy needs to come down inside that L a little bit. That's better. So now I have some hearts and Happy Valentine's Day. You'll notice the Happy Valentine's Day is this red, and I think it's nice because it matches the heart, so I'll keep it that way. Actually, it looks like it's pink. So let me show you how we can change the color of the font if we want to. Once again, I select my 3 layers. I click the color, and it just gives us this thing and we drag around. So we can choose the hue, and then we choose the shade. But I don't want that. Actually, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go to this tab up here called Swatches, and then you see something similar to what we've had before. We have swatches, gradients, patterns, and there's that red swatch I used before. There we go. That matches a little bit better. All right, so I've got the front of my card designed. Now we need to think about what the inside is going to say. If you imagine that this is the front, we fold it up, we open it, this is the inside right. But it's really hard to design upside down. So what we're going to do is right down here, you should have a hand tool. Okay, and if you click and hold on the hand tool, then you get the rotate view tool. And if I just click and drag the view, then it flips it around. If I hold down shift, it flips it perfectly straight. So now I can design the inside right without trying to design something upside down. So this time I'm going to get my text tool, and I'm going to, instead of just clicking once, I'm going to draw a rectangle with my type tool. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to type a whole paragraph. Now it's upside down. We can fix that by dragging and holding down shift, and it'll go perfectly to the other way. There we go. So I had to rotate it around, but that's no problem. And I'm going to type some text. Let me change my font before I do that because it'll not really work in black crayon. Maybe I'll pick something nice and scripty. Maybe not. Maybe some engraved thing. Maybe not. How about American typewriter? I kind of like the look. And then here it says 48 points. That's a little big for the inside of the card. So I can either drag on these 2 T's to change the size, or I can drop down my font and choose something like size 12. But now my line spacing is really tall, so I can change this to auto. There we go. Now I have a nice paragraph that I can write. So at this time, you can write whatever you want if you're a creative person, or you can go to the web and find something nice that goes inside of a card. For me, I'm going to write this to my wife because we've celebrated 25 years of marriage this year, and so I'm going to write something really nice. From high school prom to 25 years of marriage, we've seen it all. Through it all, we've found love, and we haven't let go. All right, that's great. Just thought of that. Okay, so that's a really nice thing to say there. And then I want to write maybe, love, and maybe leave room for my actual signature later. So I'm going to get the type tool again and click once, write the word love. Once again, it's upside down. No big deal. I can accept my change. I can get my move tool up here, and I can get next to it and then just click and rotate it around, holding down shift. Or you know what? It's kind of nice at the side. Accept my change. Choose a different font. Maybe we can have that black crayon again. And then I can drag on my T until love is super big. That's really awesome. Love, right? And then I'll sign my own name there later on after I print it. So I'm kind of liking how that's looking. And that's the basics of what you have to do. Before you try to print this, you should turn off the template layer. And I think I'd also, now that I think about it, like to give this some sort of background color or even a gradient. So let me turn back on the template layer and let's do one more thing. I'm going to go to my shapes, get a rectangle tool, and starting at the very corner, dragging all the way across, I want to get a big rectangle. Now, it got much bigger than my whole canvas because I'm not used to this new Photoshop where it just makes a perfect rectangle, but I can reshape it easily by dragging the corner. I'll zoom back in. By the way, Command plus and Command minus is a way that you can zoom in and out. So now that I have this big rectangle, I need to decide how I want this to look. Maybe a light blue? That's not bad. It seems to match everything, and it's really pretty. But you notice what happened here. See, it covered up my template layer, but that's okay. It's at the bottom. If you happen to draw your rectangle and it like covers up everything, it just means you got to drag it down, down to your template layer. And if I really want to see the template, I can take the template layer and drag it all the way up to the top, pop it way up there on top of love, and then I can see my template and make sure I've got everything in the right place, and I can just turn it off. Now that's looking pretty good. So all I need to do now is print it and cut the edges, cut the where the crop marks are, fold it into fourths, and I'll have a nice card to give to my wife on Valentine's Day. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to go a little bit further, stick with me. I'm going to go a little bit further with this tutorial to show you some more advanced techniques if you're interested. But this is the basics. Have something on the front, have something on the inside, and print it and cut it and fold it. Okay, here we go. We're going to go a little further with this. I think what I'm going to do here on the inside left is I'm going to put some pictures of my wife and I from throughout the years. So I can just choose File, Place Embedded, and this can work even if you have pictures that you have found on the internet. Maybe you found some design of hearts or flowers or something, teddy bears or whatever you wanted from the internet, and you want to put them in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this picture from us at prom. Okay, and it's taken a while. There we go. It's upside down because remember I've turned my design upside down. I'll go ahead and rotate this. Holding down Shift makes me rotate it perfectly straight. And then I can resize it by just grabbing the corner. That's great. I want to make sure by turning on my template that I've got this in the right place. I'm going to get my Move tool and move it over, maybe down at the bottom here. Okay. And just like that. Then I'll go ahead and place another picture of us from our anniversary this year. We went to a waterfall. It was really cool. Rotate it. All right, resize it. I want to make sure that it fits right inside of the boundaries for the back side of the card. And we'll maybe put that at the bottom of it. And I'm going to do a little advanced thing. So I'm making it up as I go here. I'm going to stretch this past the boundaries so that it fills that whole quadrant. And then I'm going to show you how you can cut this one side off. So I'll accept my change. And then I'll grab this tool called the Rectangular Marquee tool. If I click and drag, staying inside my boundaries, just like this, and I make a rectangle, then I can come down inside my layers panel, and there's a square with a circle inside of it, and it says add layer mask. So I have a selection on my waterfall layer. If I click that button, then it crops it to that picture. That's really cool. But now my prom picture is hidden, but then it's no problem. As I said before, you just click and drag it above the other layer and it shows up. but it's covering us up. So I'm actually going to do something even more advanced with this because I don't like how this picture's going in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select us out of this image. There's a really cool new tool in Photoshop. If you click on the magic wand tool, there's a quick selection tool which will work, but there's also an object selection tool, and it usually recognizes people really well. So I'll grab my object selection tool, draw a rectangle selection around the objects, and look at that. It recognized us in this photo. Now it got this little part of the door up here, but that's okay. There's also a way to fix that. Once again, I have a selection on my prom layer. I'll click that mask button. And look at that, it masked us right out of there. I can grab my move tool and I can move us down and sit us right next to the other one. And I don't care that my shoulder's hanging off onto the front. It gives us something to wonder about. Or it's going to the right side. So that's inside right, inside left. So that's pretty cool. And maybe I'll make that. No, I'll keep it the same size. That's kind of cool. All right. So now that I have that, remember I said it kept that little hinge from the door right here. I don't want it. So here, this is a mask. It's black and white. Black is what's hidden. White is what's revealed. Now I can get my brush tool and switch back and forth between my two color swatches, foreground and background. And if my foreground is switched to black, I can paint, and make my brush a little smaller with my bracket key. I can paint to hide the things that I didn't want to see. So that's looking really cool. Also, oh, that's my hand. Okay, cool. So that's pretty nice. Now, because I'm a more advanced user, I can also make the colors match. If you're interested in this, that's fine, not required. But I can go to my adjustment layers and add, first of all, a levels adjustment layer. Levels allows me to adjust white balance by clicking on this black eyedropper. I'll click on something in the photo that's black, like her dress. I'll click on something that's white, like my tux shirt. And I'll click on something gray, with the gray one, like this part of my tux. And now it's adjusted the color pretty well, but it also messed up the color back here. No problem. Because we had the levels at the top, it's adjusting everything underneath. But if I click this little square here, it's going to only adjust that layer. All right. So it looks like good color, but it still doesn't match this photo. So what I could do is I could do the same thing to that photo. I can go to my waterfall, levels, right, adjustment layer, levels, use my black to click on something very dark, use my white to click on something white, use my gray to click on something gray. If you don't have something gray, you can find a shadow on white. So luckily my hair is white and there's a little shadow. And that didn't do well. Or you can just click around your photo until you find something. Yuck. You can find something that's going to match better. And that's not really matching well. Anyhow, I'd like to see more of my face here too. So I can scroll up a little bit and grab this gray slider. And that lets me bring out some of the shadows. Anyway, these are much more advanced skills than you'll be needing at this time. But one more thing I can do to make us match better. By the way, let me clip that. Yeah, one more thing I can do to make a match better is I can come up to the prom layer and another adjustment layer called Hue and Saturation. And then I can mess around a little bit with the hue. I can mess around with saturation and lightness until I try to really and find a way to make these pictures match better. So it's getting there. That's looking pretty cute. So now that's how to add some photos. You can also find a photo on the internet with transparency already, and you don't have to worry about all this masking and recoloring. But hopefully that helps you decide how you want to design your card and gives you some skills to work with to get done what you're trying to do. I'm going to turn off my template again. So there's my whole card. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, of course, please ask or ask the internet. There's plenty of resources out there. Thank you for watching.